Hello again, everyone. This is Steve, coming to you with another mechanical pumping puzzle, and this one's actually pretty quick. It's pretty quick, pretty simple, but also very neat. Kind of a unique scenario, and I'll show you one possible alternative. Well, I shouldn't say show you. I'll tell you one possible alternative to this, but this one was one that was brought up years ago on Facebook. A guy was looking for a way to provide water to his cabin. It was up in the mountains, and it was on a hillside of all places, which actually made solving this one pretty easy for me, at least. He tried the idea and liked it, and it worked out for him. So I'm just sharing this with you just in case you run into something similar. If you don't have this, I can tell you an alternative way to do this at the end of this. But you know, if you're up in the mountains and you've got hills around you and stuff, and a river and everything you need for this, this is actually kind of a cool way to provide automatic pressurized house water to your to your cabin that you're staying in. So, anyways, the situation here was he was in the mountains. He had a little cabin here on the side of a hill, and there was like a river down below. It had the correct amount of fall and angle and everything else it needed to make a ram pump work, which was helpful. There's other ways to do that. But in his case, he had everything he needed to make the ram pump the viable option there, so we went with that. So basically what we did was we started out with the ram pump, which this is what this represents. I'm not going to go into the whole detail on how the river looked and the piping and all that. If you watch enough ram pump videos, you'll figure out basically what we would have been, or what he would have been dealing with. But anyways, he had we set it up with a ram pump in the river. Then we added the supply tank on the top of the hill. However, there's a slight problem with this problem right off the bat. This is a river. This is not potable water. It's drinkable only if you want to have the screaming poos and get sick and all that, because there's bacteria and amoebas and all kinds of other nasty, funky stuff in those rivers. I mean, the water is drinkable, but you have to filter it first. So don't let me to completely freak you out on that one. It's not well water. It's not automatically potable off the, right out the door. You have to filter it to make it potable. So, anyways, we had the ram pump, which goes up to the initial supply tank, which then go down to a second supply tank, and I'll explain that one in a second here. We also had, because again this is not potable, we added a filter block. And if you remember my desert water pumping video, we had a water block on that too, because that was coming from a spring, and a spring, no matter how pure it may seem, you never want to consider that as potable. You always want to filter that. Well water is the only thing that I can say that you can pump and it's ready to fly right out the door, because the ground itself does all the filtering for you. So when you pump that water out of the ground, it's ready to drink. So anyways, you got the upper supply tank, the lower supply tank, and the filter block. And this is how the hose works. Basically, the ram pump's down here doing this tick, 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 tick thing, pumps it up the hill to the barrel. I'm not going to go into the mechanics of, what the fall was or distance or stuff, just like I said before. Basically, just consider this as it works. It's got everything it needs to get it up here. This barrel up here is assumed to be about 200 feet off the riverbed. So from here to here is about 200 feet. Give a little, take a little. It's right around 200 feet. That then drains down into this filter block. And what that does is that filters into here. Those filters, though, are slow. That's one thing I've noticed about them. I mean, I don't know how they do it on the house water to get them where you still get your 2.5 gallons per minute and the 40 psi of pressure, because most filter blocks I've seen that actually filter like they should, which filters all the sand and the grit, and it gets out the viruses and the microscopic creatures and everything like that. Those things are slow. You're talking anywhere from a quarter minute to a gallon a minute at best, if they're doing it right. Some of them may not even give you a quart a minute. You might get a gallon an hour. So you got to consider that, which is why the second tank is here and it doesn't go directly into the house, because this is assumed to be slow, so this becomes basically an accumulator tank. So the water comes down from here, goes through here, goes into this accumulator tank. From there, gravity takes it down into the house, and you have running water and everything. This is not potable. This is potable. And this runs into the house, and then you can heat the water. You can just run cold water, whatever you want to do, and boom, you've got running water to a cabin. Again, simple design. Well, a lot of you probably could have figured this out on your own if you were put in the same situation. I figured to detail it for those who wouldn't have thought of this, or they may not have thought about the little gotchas that came with it. So that's basically a way that you can do this whole design and do it pretty simply and economically and easily at whatever location you want to. Now, the alternatives I had for this design was you can skip the upper supply tank. I like the upper supply tank because it gives you extra volume in your system. So like if the river water gets low and your ram pump stops or something like that, you got time, you got plenty of extra water to use before you have to run down here and hit the button and make the thing start again. Which of course, if you saw the other videos, you know about my auto start system for ram pumps. So anyways, if you don't have that, you have to go down and restart it every time it stalls, which hopefully the river water never gets low enough that it stalls. But if it does, for whatever reason is clogged or stuff, you're going to have at least some capacity, or just going to run out of running water real fast, or at least as fast as that tank empties. But yeah, with this, you can actually, instead of going up to the first supply tank, you can shortcut that and just take a right turn and go right straight into the filter and into here and into the house. And if you want to just completely skip those two, you can come up the hill into the house and into the filter block, and then from the filter block into the accumulator tank. You're going to want to have a fairly large accumulator tank, because like I was saying, your system will charge it, but your filters are going to be slow. At least if you've got good ones that do the job like they're supposed to. So, anyways, as I said, this is going to be short. So it's about half the time I normally spend on these. But anyways, if you have any thoughts, questions, concerns, ideas, alternatives, please feel free to let me know or leave them in the comments. Thanks.